So today, we're going to talk about a substance that's both a celebrated medical hero and really a central villain in a modern tragedy. And that's oxycodone. We're going to look at both sides of the coin here, how it can be a source of incredible relief, but at the same time, just devastating harm. And that quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, right? It perfectly captures this paradox. On one side, you have this powerful weapon against pain and suffering, but on the other, you have a substance that has fueled an absolute epidemic. So let's really dig in and unpack both sides of this sword to understand how we got here. Okay, so before we can even get into the crisis, we've got to understand the tool itself. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is oxycodone, and how does it actually do what it does? So here's the thing about oxycodone, you can't just find it growing somewhere. It's what's called a semi-synthetic opioid. That means scientists take a natural compound called thebaine, which comes from the opium poppy, and they tweak it in a lab to create this incredibly potent painkiller. And that origin story is really key to understanding its power. You know, the US government classifies oxycodone as a Schedule II substance. Now, that's not just some random label. It's a formal, official acknowledgement of that double-edged sword we're talking about. It means, yes, it has a clear medical use, but, and this is a huge but, it also comes with a high potential for abuse and severe dependence. The danger is literally written into its legal status from the get-go. So how does this stuff actually work to stop pain? Well, you can think of it as a three-step process. First, the drug molecules travel through your body and they lock on to these specific docking stations in your brain and spine called opioid receptors. Second, by latching on, they basically pretend to be your body's own natural painkillers, endorphins, and they block pain signals from ever reaching the brain. And third, and this is the really wild part, it doesn't just block the signal, it actually changes how your brain experiences the pain, making it feel way less upsetting and distressing. So with that kind of power, you can imagine it's not prescribed for, a simple headache or a sprained ankle. We are talking about severe, knock you off your feet kind of pain, the kind you'd have after a major surgery, from a serious accident, or from cancer. It's really meant to be a last resort, when other treatments just aren't cutting it. Okay, but here's something you gotta know. Not all oxycodone is created equal. The way it's delivered into the body is super important, both for how well it works and for its potential to be misused. Let's look at the two main versions. All right, first up, you've got the immediate release, or IR. Think of this as the fast-acting rescue squad for sudden, intense pain, like right after an operation. It kicks in quick, but it also wears off in just a few hours. And then there's extended release, or ER, which you've probably heard of as Oxycontin. This one is designed for the long haul, giving you steady, around-the-clock relief for about 12 hours. This exact formulation was once marketed as being less addictive because of that slow release, a claim that, wow, would become absolutely central to the whole opioid crisis. So far, we've been talking about the good side of the sword, right? The healing edge. But the very same mechanism that gives it all that power, well, that's what makes the other edge so incredibly sharp and dangerous. This is the bargain your body makes when you take an opioid. So let's start with the common stuff. Because oxycodone affects receptors all over your body, not just for pain, it causes a whole bunch of other things. Constipation is a huge one, probably the most common. But feeling drowsy, nauseous, dizzy, that's all part of the package. These are kind of the expected, if not very pleasant, costs of taking the drug. But then we get to the really, really dangerous stuff. The number one risk, the thing that causes fatal overdoses, is called respiratory depression. I mean, this is the big one. It's when the drug slows down your brain's most basic, automatic function, the drive to breathe. Your breathing can get dangerously slow, shallow, or just stop. And beyond that, you've got tolerance, physical dependence, and the devastating brain disease of addiction. Now, it's super important we get this straight. There's a big difference between dependence and addiction. Physical dependence is a totally normal, biological thing that happens when your body just gets used to the drug being there. Think of it like your morning coffee. If a heavy coffee drinker suddenly stops, they get wicked headaches. They feel awful. Their body has become dependent. It's the same idea with opioids, but the withdrawal is a million times worse. And this can happen to anyone taking the drug long term, even if they're following their doctor's orders perfectly. Addiction, on the other hand, or what doctors call opioid use disorder, that's a whole different beast. This isn't just your body adapting, it's a chronic disease of the brain. The key word here is compulsion. A person compulsively seeks out and uses the drug even when it's destroying their health, their family, their whole life. It's like the brain's reward circuits have been completely hijacked, and they've lost all control. And that path of misuse and addiction, it can lead to the ultimate price, an overdose. So let's walk through what actually happens in this kind of medical emergency, because knowing these signs, it could literally save someone's life. Okay, so when medics arrive, they're looking for a classic three-part signature, the triad of an overdose. Sign number 1, pinpoint pupils. The pupils get incredibly small, like the head of a pin. Sign number 2, unconsciousness. The person is completely out. You can't wake them up, no matter what you do. And sign number 3, the most critical one, respiratory depression. Their breathing is dangerously slow and shallow, or it's stopped completely. This is the body's life support system shutting down in real time. But, and this is so important, there is hope. An overdose isn't always a death sentence. It can be reversed with a miracle drug called naloxone, which you probably know by its brand name Narcan. It works by literally kicking the opioids off those brain receptors, which immediately reverses the overdose and gets the person breathing again. The key, though, is that it has to be given in time. Every single second counts. So after hearing all of that, you're probably wondering, how on earth can this thing ever be used safely? Well, it all comes down to following incredibly strict rules and really understanding the massive risks, especially when you start mixing it with other things. Okay, listen up, because this part is absolutely critical. All the things you see here, alcohol, benzodiazepines like Xanax or Valium, other opioids, they're all, just like oxycodone, central nervous system depressants. That means they all slow down your brain and your breathing. Mixing them is a recipe for absolute disaster. It doesn't just add to the risk, it multiplies it. We're talking exponentially increasing the chance of your breathing just stopping. And that, right there, brings us full circle, back to that double-edged sword. We've got a tool that can provide life-changing relief from suffering, but its power for destruction is just as profound. So the challenge, for doctors, for patients, for all of us, really, is this massive unanswered question. How do we wield this sword so that the healing it can offer ever truly outweighs the incredible harm it causes? That's the question right at the heart of this entire crisis.